Music in video games is one of the most important aspects of a game's identity. It can completely set the tone for a scene or mark a special moment that will stay with us for the rest of our lives. Even something as simple as just being a banger can leave a huge impression. And yet, video game music is often not respected by the wider demographic, so most of these incredible tracks stay hidden in the hearts of those who got to experience these musical masterpieces. But then there's a few songs that for one reason or another transcended that boundary and became iconic in society as a whole. And our little silly guy Kirby got plenty of those. Well, the Kirby series has an incredible musical history with bangers coming out even to this year. I wanted to go through every single mainline game and some extras to find the most iconic Kirby songs. The songs that even your mom can recognize and say, oh yeah, I heard that before. So, before we start, I want to mention I got this idea from this video by Celtic, discussing the most iconic songs in Zelda. I found it such an interesting topic, and when I applied it to Kirby, it made me remember all the wacky reasons these songs are so iconic. Most of these themes became part of internet culture in one way or another. So go watch that video if you want some more deep picks, because my god, some of these songs gave me and the people who helped me existential crisis, because there's no fucking way the most iconic song of Return to Dreamland is this dinky ass b****. Being the first game in the series, it set a lot of fundamental aspects that the entire series would then follow. But personally, I feel its biggest impact in the franchise as a whole is the soundtrack. Kirby's Dreamland's OST may be small, but every single song were going to be remixed, adapted, or referenced in almost every future entry. Songs like Bubbly Clouds, and Float Islands, are still the Kirby Cloud and Water themes respectively. Meanwhile, something like the boss theme set the energetic mood most boss battles would go for. And of course, how can I forget Diddy's theme, iconic to this day in and outside the series. So with iconic bangers from left to right, how could I possibly choose only one song? It's Green Greens. This was one of the easiest choices on this list, but you can make an argument for the songs I mentioned before. They are mostly iconic to Kirby fans and don't really go out into the public. For most, they are simple video game music. Now, Diddy's theme was a tougher choice, but honestly, this first battle isn't the most iconic one, and the later interpretation of this song will go on to overshadow the original, to the point most people don't know it came from this game. Green Greens is different. It's the Kirby song. It's the 1-1 or overworld of Kirby, reused over and over again in and outside the series it came from. A song that represents the series to its core. With its catchy, exciting yet friendly tune, it serves as the perfect musical icon of the franchise. Adventure was surprisingly tough to figure out. Despite setting an arguably even bigger groundwork than its predecessor, with its use of coffee abilities and secrets galore, in terms of music, it doesn't reach the heights of the original in terms of how iconic they are. That doesn't mean there's no bangers. Songs like Vegetable Valley, and Battery Building, are very popular within the fandom, and for good reason, while songs like the Meatballs theme, or Nightmares theme, are fundamental pillars of Kirby boss music. But despite that, the song I would personally choose is the very first one you hear upon booting the game. Music is so universal, it can represent many things, especially when it comes to a specific character, from their personality to their mood to other characters who are associated with it. But there's few songs like Drawing Song that can so accurately describe a character's design. Kirby's simplistic yet great design is one of the series' biggest appeals. It makes perfect sense the song that best represents that aspect of the series is the most iconic one. Funnily enough, this song wasn't even from Adventure, as it originates from a Japanese Kirby's Dreamland commercial. Does that make this a remix, meaning that it doesn't count? F*** it, give it to bodybuilding then.
That fucking bird that I hate!
On a serious note, Dreamland 2 OST is infamous for having a great selection of songs you will almost never hear. Every time you use an animal friend, which is like 90% of the time, you will only hear one of three songs: Rick's theme, Kind's theme, or the one that you will really hear all the time, Koo's theme. They are pretty good, all things considered, but you are so overexposed to them, by the end of your playthrough you will want to hear anything outside of these three songs. Out of all of them, Koo is the one you will hear the most, and he's by far the best animal friend, and his theme is the one that gets remixed the most. Outside of these three songs, the one that stands out the most is Dark Castle, mostly thanks to his Robot remix, but that sadly can't compare to the bird. Superstar's soundtrack is absolutely legendary, not only in the Kirby series but gaming in general. There's so many tracks that were going to become icons in internet culture, songs like Dynablade, and Candy Mountain, are really popular in the YTPMB space. It also has an iconic selection of boss themes, with Mark's theme being a great highlight for his wacky time measures. And King Dedede's theme finally being improved to the state we all love and remember. And my god, how can I forget the fact that Revenge of Meta Knight won a Grammy of all things? It's fair to say Superstar has by far the most iconic selection of music in the series. Some of its lesser known songs clear half the entire series when it comes to popularity. So how can I possibly choose one song? And how is that the easiest question I ever asked myself? Green Green's being the Kirby song, that was kind of a lie, because if you ask anyone other than a Kirby fan what is the one song the series is known for, you will hear everyone say Gourmet Race. It's just so good, it's catchy, it feels intense, it's dynamic, it's fast, and it has one hell of a strong melody that will be melted in your brain even after the first time you listen to it. But the real reason this song became so iconic is all thanks to Smash. Some other songs in this list are also propelled by the Smash influence, but Gourmet Race was truly propelled into mainstream with Super Smash Bros, as it was the only team playable in Kirby's stage, Dreamland, and boy did it blow up, especially in the remix and YTPMB space. You have your classics like 1-2 Oatmeal and my personal favorite Falcon Punch. But you also have all these metal or trap remixes with millions upon millions of views on YouTube and other platforms. To this day, it's among some of gaming's most iconic songs ever, and to think it came from a small subgaming title already packed with iconic music. Personally speaking, Kirby's Dreamland 3 has one of my favorite soundtracks in the entire series. It's so chill and charming while also not being afraid of getting exciting from time to time. And I'm not the only one, this OST is a fan favorite, constantly gassed up as one of the best, which makes the fact that this soundtrack is pretty obscure to the overall gaming community a real shame. Just that the game itself is overshadowed by its older and younger brothers, leading to very few songs that compete for the most iconic title. But thankfully, the choice is not hard, as Sand Canyon 1 is by far the most popular choice. This is mainly thanks to the power of memes. Just like some Superstar songs I mentioned before, Sand Canyon was really popular during the Nico Nico and YTPMB eras, with thousands of variations from all corners of media. Even to this day, it carries some of that legacy with videos like The Speed of Curve with millions of views. Truly a monument of how Kirby music has changed internet culture time and time again. 64 was a tough one at first. It's full of amazing themes that left their mark in the series for years, from the upbeat hills of Popstar, to the trending and emotional 02. But even then, I can't really say most of them went outside the Kirby fandom. 02 has gotten a ton of remixes and it still has that smash boost, but I still don't feel confident in picking it. And that's because there's one more song that, while also didn't reach the popularity of others in the list, definitely deserves a spot in this video. Factory Inspection is one of the darkest themes in the series. It is heavily implied Shiversaw is a version of our own planet, frozen in time, long abandoned by the creatures that once inhabited. This song is a perfect way to represent that uneasiness when navigating the factory. Really goes to ask, what really happened here? Was it an unfortunate natural event, or the result of civilization going mad with the power of technology? We will never know, but at least we have this song to perfectly replicate that sense of dread Shiverstar brings to the series. The first of all noteworthy spin-offs. Air Ride OST actually has a really weird history, as most of its songs were being reused from the anime, with the Air Ride soundtrack being one of the few ways we can revisit that anime song selection. Not to mention, this was the last game directed by Sakura, and just like his other projects at the time like Smash Melee, he came in swinging with a full orchestra to create some truly outstanding music. Tracks like Frozen Hillside, and Checker Nights, are especially great examples of this new style. But by far, the most iconic song in Air Ride has to come from the most iconic mode in this game. City Travel is the game's biggest highlight for most, a huge area where you and your rivals can freely explore to prepare for the final event, and the music is a big reason of why this mode slaps so much. Its fast-paced nature leads to such a competitive and exciting mood that gets everyone in the room pumping with energy, while also being such a dynamic track with tons of ups and downs, making it so you never get tired of it. It's no wonder it's one of the most popular tracks in the series. I constantly see this one used in YouTube videos to this day. It's just the definition of iconic. The state of Labyrinth of Amazing Mirror is filled with great songs. I will never forget getting lost in the maze and discovering a warp star leading me to the astral type sound of Candy Constellation. Or diving under the sea for the intense sounds of Fall Devotion. But sadly, I can't think of any particular theme that is widely beloved by the people outside the Kirby fandom. So if I have to choose any song, it will be the one that best represents this adventure. Rainbow Route is an excellent first level theme. Against the limited capabilities of the GBA sound driver, this song creates such a grandiose feeling. It really makes you feel like you're in this huge adventure where the world is open for you to go out there and explore to your heart's content. Definitely the most iconic song of this game. Canvas Curve has one of the most unique soundtracks in the series, but that's not thanks to its selection of music, as almost all of them are remixed from previous Kirby games, leading to only a very small handful of songs even available for this project, and out of all of them, there is a clear winner. Rush's first phase theme is a masterfully crafted piece that pushes the unique style of the overall soundtrack to its limit, creating a song so majestic yet terrifying that leaves such a great impression that can still be felt to this day. Even as someone who has gone multiple times on record saying this soundtrack physically hurts my ears, I can't deny the brilliance of this song, truly one of a kind. While beloved by some, Squeak Squad is often a very forgettable title in the series, being a big part of that due to its reuse of assets from the other GBA games. This even includes the music itself, as most of the OSTs remixes or straight up taken from other Kirby games. That doesn't mean this game doesn't have its hidden gems here and there, with something like my personal favorite, the File Select theme. But due to this constant reuse of songs mixed with a game that is kinda mood, there really aren't that many iconic themes. At least, that is until you dare pick up one of those big treasure chests. Here Come the Squeaks! It's the first song on this list that gets its reputation for how ingrained it is into the core game. You will hear this song a lot, and for good reason, as it's the main theme of the Squeak Squad. The whole game revolves around this traveling group of mice, so giving them such a catchy piece to mark their presence was an excellent move, and one that would set this theme as one of the most iconic parts of this game. Despite being an overall faithful remake to the original, Superstar Ultra also introduced a lot of stuff that would carry over from game to game, one of those things being its music. As while the rendition of the classic tunes might be considered inferior to some, the new selection of music is the definition of iconic, especially in the boss theme department. Just look at a theme like Heavy Lobster, which would go on to become sort of a representation of modern Kirby. Or even something like Galactonite. Which completely blew away every aspect that makes a Kirby song, going for pure metal madness, opening the gates for any other type of music genre to get its Kirby touch. But the crown must go to the king, and the king wants his revenge. If we count this as a remix, then Galactonite takes it, but it's hard to not talk about the legacy of Mask DDD. Not only is it a crucial piece of DDD's character progression, not only is it a crazier, faster version of what was already one of the most iconic themes in the series, but it's also like, really f***ing good? What more can I say? Most of its popularity is thanks to its arrangement in Deluxe that really skyrocketed the reach of this song to the masses, but we cannot deny just how incredible this theme was from the very first time the king put on the mask. Going from one of the most blood-pumping songs in the series, we got to what is often considered the most comfortable and calm soundtrack in the entire franchise. Epic Yarn's soundtrack is a big reason why so many people feel a special connection to this title. Its beautiful melodies create such strong emotions in the hearts of anyone who plays this game. Some songs like Flower Field still manage to make me shed some tears of happiness here and there. But when it comes to popularity, this soundtrack is also really good for setting a calm and welcoming mood. You probably heard some of these songs used in countless videos without even noticing, and by far the lead of this type of song is none other than Apartment 102. It's a perfect embodiment of everything that makes this soundtrack special. Well, it's not a song that will make you point at the screen and say, "That's from Epic Jorn!" It's a song that we all hear at least once in our lives, and it's a song that would constantly remind us that life will always get better eventually. Being the first fully original mainline title of the modern era, it came with a lot of iconic aspects that would become staples of the series going forward, and that includes the music. It's also the first time we would see a recurring use of leitmotif to describe a character's situation. They existed before, but here's where they started to really show their head. Songs like Mauler's theme being a prime example of this. Or songs like the Super abilities coming back with fighting some of the game's biggest bosses. But the biggest example of this, and the reason I bring leitmotifs up, is because thanks to them, HAL was able to create one of the most memorable songs in the entire series. Crown is the representation of everything that makes Return to Dreamland's endgame iconic. This one cheerful theme is now corrupted by this menacing sound, combined with the incredible amount of instruments all coming together to make an epic final stand, with this segment of Triumph and Return being a reminder to never lose hope and to keep fighting for the ones we love, even if we have to go against the ones we used to call friends. Crown has multiple uploads and remixes with millions of views. HAL has capitalized on its success and is already a song that has been remixed time and time again. And honestly, I couldn't be happier because this song really showed me for the first time how music can enhance an experience to make it something truly beautiful. Actually give it to the Dinky cause funny. And from one of the most iconic OSTs in the series, we go to what is in my opinion the most underrated soundtrack in the series. I'm telling you, go back and listen to these songs because it has some truly outstanding stuff. But it's that lack of popularity that really hinders Mass Attack in the iconic department. There's sadly no one song that stands above the rest. What's that Skull doing here? Oh god, oh fuck! It's been a while since our last meme entry. While a pretty recent meme, all things considered, and one that really didn't stand the test of time, the Skull Gang was popular thanks to the Skeleton Appears meme, as a goofy but menacing song, perfect for the modern interpretation of skeletons in internet culture, so it's no surprise it gained such a following. It's not a bad song at all, but maybe next time Mass Attack's OST gets a chance to shine, it's with some other incredible teams in its lineup. But for now, we need to watch our bags as the skeleton might appear when we least expect it. Having to follow up such a groundbreaking title in the series, Deluxe had a lot to live up to, especially in the musical department, and the results were pretty split. While it still has an outstanding soundtrack full of bangers, most of the stage songs of Deluxe didn't compare to iconic Return to Dreamland songs like Sky Tower, but the boss themes on the other hand? Oh boy! Deluxe has some of the most viewed songs on YouTube reaching millions of views. We already talked about Mass DDD, and if remixes were banned, that would easily take it. But songs like Dirty and Beauty cemented the place as some of the most iconic Kirby songs to date. But above all of them has to be none other than the beautiful Monstruck Blossom. Many of the reasons why Crown is so good also apply to this song. Its use of leitmotifs and dynamic tones are just as excellent as they were before, but the direction they decided to go here is a much more soothing yet sad sound, really showing the double-edged sword of his final transformation. Eternal beauty, but at what cost? Rainbow Curse OST is often considered to be among the best when it's brought up, but most of the reputation comes from the inner fandom as the game itself is one of Kirby's most obscure adventures, man I wonder why, and most of that love goes with the incredible remixes, and for good reason, they are goated. But as such, not many of the game's original songs are discussed as much, but there is one exception. Rainbow Cross the Skies almost wins by default, and it's the only song from Rainbow Cross that gets reused and remixed in later titles and in events like the Music Fest. For some, this is the main theme of the game, and honestly, I can't be mad as this is one of the most feel-good songs in the entire series. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it here, it's a Noble Helmet. The game's most iconic song is also its most controversial. You see, Planet Robot's soundtrack more than any other game loves leitmotif, with the Noble Helmet being integrated into almost every other song. To some, this can get annoying to the point that every song sounds the same to them, but for others, me included, it creates such a powerful message. This theme, just like the Helmet Works company in general, has embedded everything, planting seeds wherever it goes. It goes to show how dire the situation is. You can't escape the mechanization of Popstar as you're constantly reminded of who's in charge now. That's why this song sticks so much with people. Just compare the carefree and exciting title theme of Deluxe to Planet Robobot. It's dystopian. I was originally going to put any of the Star Dreams theme here, and while they could come for their own songs, they also constantly reuse the Helmet themes. From start to finish, this song plays over and over again, and every time it shows up, it also sets the mood in different ways, making it so you don't feel bored by it. The Noble Helmet is, in my opinion, one, if not the greatest use for leitmotif in a video game, so it more than deserves a spot in this list. Stylized soundtrack is by far the biggest in the entire series. It is jam-packed with songs from all corners of the series, but that's also its biggest weakness, as the original stuff is overshadowed by the huge amount of reused and remixed tracks. But just like every Kirby game here, that doesn't mean there aren't any bangers that left their mark on the fandom, like Planet Airfall, or Heinz Unhooded. But I had to go once more with the climactic final battle, mainly the updated rendition, Astral Birth Boy. Kirby Star was always said to be a celebration title and the final game before the big step into 3D, so it makes sense for his final song to also carry some of that weight, as Astro Beard Boy starts off like a souped-up version of the already incredible Boy theme, but slowly transitions to a very familiar tune. This is one of my favorite Kirby moments ever. In the midst of a chaotic final boss, a sad rendition of Green Green starts playing. The true meaning of Void and this song is still heavily debated all these years later, but if there's one thing that we can all agree is that after the insane task was Soul Meteor X, this was a perfect farewell for Star Allies. Being the first 3D mainline title, Forgotten did a lot to push the series forward in a bold, new direction, while keeping what makes the Kirby series so fun, and that also applies to the soundtrack. Forgotten Land goes for a more ambitious and grandiose style, with songs constantly changing as the level goes on, every song being its own adventure telling its own story. While impressive, that also means most of the soundtrack hasn't caught up as well as some others, but the songs that did catch their moment in the spotlight, oh boy do people love them. Songs like Welcome to the New World shocked the entire community as the first Kirby song with lyrics. We don't count Super Kirby Clash. All the great themes that caught the attention of everyone were alive or more. And North is frustrated. But then you get to the higher tier with my personal favorite Kirby song in the entire series, Zoro the Surviving Guardian. But even after that, there's two more songs that shook the internet when they first dropped. One of those two left such a roar, the sound waves can still be heard to this day. At first, I had two plans approach the Roach limit in this list, and while that song itself is also incredibly popular and you can say deserves more for not being a remix, you simply had to be there. Roro DDD took everyone by surprise, and as more people got to discover this theme, it just kept growing and growing. Everywhere you would go, you would hear those drums from hell as the king proudly roared for the audience. From that moment on, Kirby music changed forever, and it's crazy to believe this song was composed by one of the newer faces in house sound team. Incredible how new blood can still come in and reshape such iconic themes to push them in a new, bold direction. If anything, Forgotten Land and Roar DDD are a mark of a new generation. Good to know we are in good hands, and with how popular the Pink Puff has become in the last few years, we are sure to get even more amazing songs that will break that barrier and become icons in general culture. But that's what I think. There could be some more games I could have put here, but aside from Return Deluxe, which I think is too new, most of the spin-offs are too obscure to even consider. So tell me, what do you consider as the most iconic Kirby songs from each game? Do you agree with my picks, or would you rather put some other songs here and there? And while you're doing there, why not hit the subscribe and like button for more videos like this one? But that's all from me, and I'll see you on the next drive.